No comeback announcement, no major event, yet in just a few hours, Jin BTS's name climbed global trends, and fans are calling this moment historic. So what actually happened? When people talk about history in K-pop, they usually mean sold-out stadiums or record-breaking albums, but this time, it started with something much quieter. Earlier this week, Jin, the eldest member of BTS, appeared in a simple public update that instantly caught fans' attention. No flashy production, no heavy promotion, just Jin, calm, sincere, and unmistakably himself. And somehow, that was enough to shake the internet. Within hours, keywords related to Jin began trending across multiple regions. Fans flooded social media with clips, screenshots, and emotional messages, calling the moment historic, not because of scale, but because of meaning. So why did this resonate so deeply? For many ARMYs, this moment symbolized presence. After a long period where fans have learned to treasure even the smallest updates, Jin's appearance felt personal. It reminded people why he holds such a unique place in BTS: stability, warmth, and quiet confidence. What's striking is how the reaction spread beyond the fandom. Casual listeners and even non-fans began engaging with the conversation, curious about why a seemingly simple moment could spark such a global response. Analysts pointed out how Jin continues to generate high engagement without relying on controversy or aggressive promotion, a rare phenomenon in today's fast-moving digital culture. Fans describe it as historic because it reflects a shift. In an era dominated by noise, Jin proved that authenticity still commands attention. No spectacle was needed, just timing, sincerity, and a deep emotional connection built over years. And perhaps that's the real story here. This wasn't about breaking a record. It wasn't about charts or trophies. It was about impact. As one fan perfectly summarized online, only Jin could make the world stop and listen without even trying. What makes this moment even more powerful is how consistent Jin has been with this kind of impact. Time and time again, he's shown that he doesn't need grand gestures to stay relevant. While the industry often rewards loud announcements and constant exposure, Jin moves differently. His presence feels intentional, measured, almost rare in today's attention economy. Fans noticed this immediately. Many pointed out that this historic moment wasn't manufactured. It wasn't teased days in advance. It wasn't pushed by headlines. Instead, it unfolded naturally, spreading from fan to fan, country to country, purely through emotional connection. That organic reaction is exactly what makes it stand out. Social media timelines filled with the same sentiment: comfort. For some, it was nostalgia. For others, reassurance. And for many, it was a reminder of why they stayed with BTS in the first place. Industry observers have also started to comment on this phenomenon. In a landscape where visibility is often forced, Jin continues to command attention simply by being present at the right moment. His influence doesn't spike and disappear, it lingers. And that's why fans call it historic. Not because it broke the internet in seconds, but because it revealed something lasting. This moment reinforced a growing belief within the fandom. Jin's role goes far beyond performance. He represents continuity, emotional grounding, a quiet strength that balances the intensity of global fame. As conversations continue to spread, one thing is clear. This wasn't a coincidence. It was the result of years of trust built between an artist and his audience. And in a world obsessed with what's next, Jin reminded everyone of something far more powerful. Some moments don't need to be loud to change the conversation. As the discussions continue to ripple across platforms, one detail stands out above everything else. This moment didn't fade. Hours passed, then days, and yet Jin's name remained in conversations, not because fans kept pushing it, but because people kept feeling it. That's when many began to realize something important. In an industry built on constant momentum, Jin created impact through stillness. While others chase attention, he holds it. And that difference is exactly what makes moments like this resonate on a global scale. For longtime ARMYs, this felt like confirmation. For newer fans, it was an introduction. And for outsiders, it was proof that influence doesn't always announce itself loudly. This historic label isn't about numbers alone. It's about longevity, the ability to matter without shouting, the ability to connect without explanation, and perhaps most importantly, it reflects a growing shift in how audiences define success. Not just who dominates the charts, but who stays with you when the noise dies down. Jin's moment reminded the world that legacy isn't built in one comeback or one viral clip. It's built slowly, through trust, sincerity, and consistency over time. And that's why this moment will be remembered, not as a headline, not as a trend, but as a quiet reminder that sometimes the most powerful presence is simply showing up. And as this moment continues to be discussed, one question keeps coming up. What does this say about Jin's future? Without revealing plans, without making promises, Jin once again demonstrated something rare, the ability to remain central to the conversation without asking for attention. In a time when anticipation is often manufactured, his presence feels earned. For many fans, this moment wasn't just about now. It felt like a signal, a reminder that when Jin truly steps forward again, whether through music, performance, or another unexpected path, the impact won't need explanation. The foundation is already there. That's why this moment matters. It showed that Jin doesn't rely on hype cycles. He creates emotional checkpoints in time, moments fans remember where they were, how they felt, and why they stayed. And that's something algorithms can't manufacture. As the world continues to watch BTS's journey evolve, one truth becomes clearer with every quiet, powerful moment like this. Jin doesn't need to dominate the spotlight to define it. Sometimes history isn't written in headlines or records. Sometimes it's written in silence and felt by millions at once. And that's why fans aren't calling this moment viral. They're calling it historic. And perhaps the most telling part of this entire story is what didn't happen. There was no clarification issued, no follow-up statement, no attempt to amplify the moment. And yet, the conversation kept growing. Fans began revisiting old clips, interviews, and past performances, drawing lines between who Jin has always been and what this moment represented. Many described it as a full circle experience, proof that his sincerity was never a phase, never a strategy, but a constant. This is where the word historic truly takes shape, not as exaggeration, but as recognition. In a digital era obsessed with speed, this moment slowed people down. It made them pause, reflect, and reconnect, not just with an artist, but with their own memories as fans. Comment sections filled with stories. This reminded me why I became ARMY. I didn't even realize how much I missed this feeling. No one does this like him. That emotional response is hard to engineer and even harder to repeat, which is why many believe this moment will be referenced again in the future, not as breaking news, but as a turning point in how people talk about influence, presence, and quiet power in global pop culture. Because trends disappear, virality fades, but moments that make millions feel the same emotion at once, those stay. And long after the hashtags stop trending, this one truth remains. Some artists make noise, others make history. And when the noise finally settles, this moment leaves behind something rare: clarity. It reminds people that influence isn't always measured by volume. Sometimes it's measured by how deeply a single moment can land across cultures, languages, and time zones without explanation. That's why fans didn't rush to define it. They felt it first. In the end, this wasn't about a schedule, a project, or an announcement. It was about connection, the kind that doesn't need context, subtitles, or hype to be understood. Moments like this don't happen often, and when they do, people remember them not for what was said, but for what was felt. So maybe that's why fans chose that word. Not iconic, not legendary, historic. Because years from now, when people look back and ask when everything quietly shifted, when presence mattered more than promotion, this will be one of those moments they point to. And now the question is yours. Did you feel it too? Or did you only realize its power after everyone else already did?